Alrighty. Oop, bumped my mic. We are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special stream. A stream that I have been wanting to do for a while now, and that's rank the Three Houses characters. I've wanted to do this since the end of the equality run that we did in Verdant Wind, but I've just been so swamped on other projects and making sure I get a good jump on the year that I haven't had time to do it. But now we're kind of in between playthroughs, and I thought, you know what, a nice little stream ranking some characters would be fun. And I've never done a tier list video like this before, so this will be fun. Early gang tonight, we got Sammy. Hi Sammy. We have Hyper. Hello Hyper. Creeper's here as always. Hello Creeper. Ireland is here, or as he likes to say, I'm Ike of the Grill Mercenaries. How are you, Ireland? Michael's here. How are you, Michael? Hopefully everybody's doing good tonight. Appreciate you guys showing up early. This is gonna be a very casual and laid back stream tonight. Hey Dark. Coke indeed. No cocaine today. That'll be tomorrow. Also very off topic, what Axon is harder in Expedition 33? I just got there and I don't know what one to do. I assume you're talking about the two that you have to choose between Mask Keeper and shoot, who was the first one? Help me out here, guys. Who was the first Axon? Oh, it was Selene. I personally had a harder time with Selene. So I think I bodied Mask Keeper. So I would say Selene is harder. Also because she has that stupid charm status that she inflicts. So I would say I would say Selene's harder. Yeah, Selene puts up a fight. Why did I hear Ass Keeper? Yeah, Selene is Keeper of the Asses. The game doesn't tell you that. It's going to be in the DLC. I have early access. Spoiler alert. Anyways, so normally with tier lists, when I do like tier lists on my own or with Carson or with other friends, I always like to do them in just random order. Just pick a character or something one at a time as they appear. But I'm going to go tier by tier for this. And if you guys have any input or feedback that you'd like to give or discussion, whatever, by all means. Like, I'm gonna go over these just for my thoughts, but if you guys have thoughts of your own, please, by all means. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna go bottom to top. Before we go, I'm gonna give kind of a briefer on what all of these tiers mean, just so when a character is in the tier, you know, kind of the standing of them, I guess. So F tier is obvious. They're just bad units. I'm not gonna judge anybody who likes to run them, but I would like to know what you see in them if you do like running them. D tier units are going to be units that are not good. They can become usable, but you're going to want to pump them full of stat boosters and grind the shit out of them. Stuff like that. C tiers are going to be very niche. They do have uses and they can be useful, but usually the headache that comes with them isn't worth the hassle, because usually there are other units that can do their jobs better, but sometimes they do have very niche roles that make them usable, that they're very good at. So just because they're in C tier doesn't mean that they're bad. They just tend to get showed up by units that do their jobs better. B tiers are going to be very solid units, but they do tend to have shortcomings that can limit their potential, or units that have consistency issues. So just because a unit is in B tier that you think is A or S, just know that I think it's because that they have some consistency issues or some shortcomings that limit their potential. A tier are your solid units. These are units that they're not going to be carrying a run on their own, but you're never going to have to really worry about them. They are often very consistent, but a shortcoming for them is that they can be expensive to develop, and that'll make more sense as I go over some of them. S tiers are your carry units. They're the ones that you first decide to deploy when you choose units. They're your go-tos. They're your boss killers. They're the ones that you go after first in recruiting. They're just overall pound for pound solid units. They don't really struggle with consistency issues. They are just overall fantastic units. And then I don't like putting tiers above S, and I don't like it when other tier list makers do that. I think it's dumb. I usually think S is the limit, but that's just me. But I do have an X tier because there are units that will just carry an entire game on their own. They're the most broken units. They are absurdly busted, but we'll get to them later. So we're just gonna start off with F tier and work our way up. This probably isn't gonna be a very long stream, but that's okay. I like a little short stream every once in a while, kind of like last week's. And I do have more announcements for the end of stream. I'm going to change up where the other playthroughs that we're going to do are going to show up, because I said there's a couple other games that I wanted to do a one-off stream on, but I'll talk more about them later because there's been some changes. So point being, I have some important announcements to go over at the end, but this probably won't be too long of a stream. No, we don't need that, Ireland. All right. So also what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the units in random, no particular order in the tier. Then when we're done, if we have time, we can go through and sort them top of tier to bottom of tier. But we're going to start off with F tier, and the first member I have in F tier is Anna. She has no supports. She has no real role. But the weird thing about her is that she has the 4th highest growth total in the game. WTF to that. But she doesn't like do anything. I can't ever figure out what she's good at. And also her lack of supports with units, pardon me, is just a massive hindrance for her. Not being able to support with anybody is a problem for her. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Anna. Next up, where is he? We have Cyril. Cyril's also F tier. I've seen people make him somewhat usable on a Wyvern, but if you're gonna try to make Cyril work, he needs just about every forged weapon under the sun. He needs 1 million stat boosters. They nerfed aptitude so hard it's irrelevant, which is so weird. But aptitude doesn't save him. He has the lowest total gross in the game. Even adding aptitude bonus to it doesn't help him. He's not going to level well. I can't really think of any good redeeming qualities for Cyril. Don't use him. Anything you think Cyril could be good at, I could probably name you 6 or 7 units that do his job better. And lastly, in F tier, we have Gilbert. He's a Blue Lions exclusive. Yes, he's a free guard adjutant. But that's really his only redeeming quality, is that he's a free guard adjutant that you can stick on one of your better units. Apart from that, he doesn't really grow in anything well. His HP and defense are fine, I guess. But to anybody who likes Gilbert, I've got 4 words for you: Dedue, Raphael, Caspar, and Balthus. That's all I've got to say. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say on Gilbert. Next up, we got D tier units. Again, these are units that are not good, and you only really run these units if you're just trying to make the game harder on yourself. My first member of D tier, funnily enough, is Manuela. She's got good magic growth. She's got good speed growth. She's got decent HP growth, but she just never develops. Anytime I've tried her, she just never pans out well. And she always gets shown up by mages that are just better than her. For some reason, she is top 10 in total growth, but again, she doesn't really excel in anything. She gets warp. That's helpful. But why would you deploy Manuela as a warp user with units like Lysithea and Catherine around? Lysithea and Catherine, or Constance, pardon me, and Catherine, they all have niches that can make them useful, but what exactly does Manuela do? That's what I'm wondering. What does Manuela do? Joining her in D tier is Hanneman. You guys know I love Hanneman. That's my boy. But just like Constance and Manuela, why would you run Hanneman when there are other magical units that are just so much better than him in everything? And you don't even get him super early. Him and Manuela, they're fairly late recruits, and 3 houses is brutal to later recruits. Even mid part 1 recruits, they're just crippled by the game. The auto developer is just terrible. It just ruins them. It's just not friendly to them. So later recruitments like them just never shake out well. And by then you have a magic unit that's just going to be better. So why waste the deployment slot on Hanneman or Manuela? That's my problem. And then lastly, rounding out D tier is Alois. Again, like Gilbert, he's a free guard adjutant. He's easy to recruit. He's available in every route except Crimson Flower. And that's what's keeping him out of F tier, is he's more accessible than Gilbert. So I think Alois's usefulness as a defense adjutant puts him in D tier, but again, he's such a later recruitment that you should have a better Armor Knight or a pair of Armor Knights developed by that point. I don't ever recommend running more than 2 Armor Knights, but he's done in and done dirty by being a later recruit. Now, if 3 Houses was more friendly to later recruitments, then it's a different story. His growths aren't terrible. Same for Hanneman and Manuela. Their growths aren't terrible. They're just hurt by being later recruitments by the time you have other units that are going to be better at their job than them. Yeah, he does have a good name, Sammy. All right, next up we have the C tier units, and we have a lot more in C tier. These units are niche at best. They can have a solid role, but there are units better than them at everything that they want to do. First up, this is going to be a controversial one, I know, but I have Catherine first in C tier. Much like Constance, I don't have a whole lot of experience with Catherine. She is great to recruit for Thunderbrand, which does help her value here. She is available in all routes except Crimson Flower. But Thunderbrand is a sword that's just better on other units than Catherine. There are other units like Felix, like Byleth, that... Hell, even Dimitri can make better use of Thunderbrand than Catherine. She does have solid HP, strength, and speed, so she can become a very solid glass cannon. But she does have a tendency to fall off late game. I don't know why. Again, it might just be my Catherines. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Catherines, but in my experience, she does tend to fall off late. And that's not really something you want from your better units. You want someone that gets better as the game progresses, not worse. And I've also never really seen anybody rave about Catherine. Yeah. I'm sure there's some people that have made her work, and she does have her niches as a glass cannon. But yeah. Oh yeah, have a good night, Sammy. Thanks for stopping by. Next up in C tier, as I keep mentioning, we have Constance. Constance is just such a hard unit to make work. I have not run her on Maddening. I've only ever ran her on hard mode. And even on hard mode, she struggles as is. She has a great magic growth. She actually ties Lysithea for the highest magic growth. But she's just terrible in all of her other stats. She's just a one-trick pony, but every other mage unit is just better than her at that. The next time I play 3 houses on the channel, which will be a Blue Lions challenge run, I'm going to try running Constance. I do have a meme build idea. I call it a meme build just because it's not very conventional. So maybe it'll help redeem her a little bit. I'm going to try to make her good with this build, but she does struggle on hard mode as is. So choosing to run her on Maddening for me has always been a bit intimidating, especially when there's more reliable and consistent mages available elsewhere. Also, her personal skill is a meme. I don't know what the real point of it is, but it's not good. Constance doesn't really have a whole lot going for her, and it sucks because I really like her personality and I think her supports are great, but she just does not have a whole lot going for her. Then in C tier we have Flane. I like Flane. I like her supports. I like her character. She has a solid magic stat and access to Fortify. She makes a really solid reserve healer if your primary healer is struggling to keep up with demand. So if you're somebody who likes 2 healers, Flane is a fantastic second option. She's a free recruit. She has good spell list. She has good magic growth. She can be very usable as a reserve healer. But with that being said, I would only really recommend Flane if you can't recruit like Marianne or Mercedes or Linhart as a secondary healer, but she will be good as a secondary healer if you just decide to use her. Again, she has her niche at that, and she's pretty good at it. I've just never been able to rely on her as a primary healer, except when she's fortifying. She is a fantastic fortify user, but she's not a unit that you can just run around spamming heals with. She just doesn't have that in her. I mean, she can, but she's not going to be healing up your tankier units from low health without Fortify. But again, Fortify is so limited on her. But she is good at her role as a backup healer. But if you're looking at like a combat role for her, she's not going to do much. And what keeps Flane out of B tier for me is that she leaves you in Crimson Flower and can have a hard time finding a role in a starting lineup with how limited deployment slots can be in 3 houses. But again, she's a free recruit. She does join relatively early. She will be a bit behind when she joins, but again, she's a good healer. She's a good healer. Next up for C tier, if I can find him, we have Ignatz. This one also might be a bit confusing. People really do not like Ignatz. I think he's saved by his personal skill, giving him plus 20 hit. He will not be a very good Punisher unit. He will never be a Punisher unit. What am I saying? Unless you pump him full of attack boosters. But he has really good dex and speed growths, but that doesn't really help him. What Ignatz is really good at, though, is being a bow knight with his personal skill, giving him plus 20 hit. He makes a really good agitator on a bow knight. And when I say agitator, I mean somebody who takes advantage of long range to just poke, to just hit an enemy for a little damage at range and aggro them into charging at your main units where your better units can pick them off. One second. But yeah, as far as other roles that Ignatz can fulfill, he's not very good in really anything else. But again, he has his role. So if you're going to run him in Golden Deer route or anything, make him a bow knight. He'll be actually pretty helpful and pretty useful for your team there. I do have a fun assassin build planned out for him for my next run, which I'm very excited to try out for you guys. I've never ran it before. Again, it's a meme build, but maybe it'll redeem him. I highly doubt it. But if I was wrong about Ingrid and her meme build, then maybe I'll be wrong about Ignatz. But yeah, really solid bow knight user, but that's really all he's good for. Next in C tier, we have Lawrence. Lawrence is in C tier alone just because he gives you Thyrsus when you recruit him, which is probably one of, if not the best heroes relics in the game. Actually, I wouldn't put it above the Lord relic units, but it's up there. It's such a good heroes relic. He should be a top recruit for anybody playing through 3 houses just because Thyrsus is so good. And his paralog gives a decent amount of experience also. He does have a habit of leaving you in early Act 2, depending on the route you choose. So be careful with how you invest in him. That also hurts his stock. He probably would be higher if he didn't leave you in Act 2 on some of the routes. But I mean, overall, even with that, he's a very mid unit. He doesn't really excel in anything, but he can be a decent mixed attacker as a Dark Knight. That's usually the role that I put him in. He's got decent strength and magic growths, but he's not going to be a heavy hitter. He's going to be on cleanup duty most of the time, or a hit and run unit. But keep him as a mage. That's what I usually do. Keep him as a mage. Just let him keep working on his magic, then stick him on a Dark Knight when he's ready. He'll be usable. But I just find him to be more consistent as a mage than sticking him on a Cavalier early. It also helps his speed and magic. I just find it to be the most consistent variant of him, but he does struggle hard with consistency. And if you're gonna invest the time in a Cav or a Wyvern that can punish somebody, why would you go with Lawrence when you have Sylvain, Ferdinand, Leone, and Hilda, who are all right there? And if you want a punishing magic unit, why would you go Lawrence when you have Annette, Happy, and Lysithia? So Lawrence is great for Thyrsus. He can make a decent hit and run magic unit, but apart from that, he is very inconsistent in how he develops. And I've never had a Lawrence turn into a good frontline unit. Next in C tier, we have, this is gonna hurt me, but we have Ash. I like Ash. I like his supports. Nice guy, Ash. But he's kind of in the same boat as Ignatz, where he has a really good niche as a bow knight, but that's about it. You can put him down Brigand and Wyvern class to help his strength. That's just way too much investment into him for what he's worth. You're better off dedicating those lecture points to somebody who's going to give you better results than Ash. He does have great accuracy, which is why he makes one of the best bow knights in the game. But again, with that being said, that's all he's really good for. He is fast, he's accurate, but in terms of combat role, there's so many other units better than him. Just use him as an agitator, as an assassin. I mean, a bow knight, but yeah, just keep him as a bow knight. He does have potential to be a decent assassin, but his low strength will have him on cleanup duty anyways. And there's just other better assassins out there. He's got his niche with Ignatz on bow knight, and he's really good at that. But as anything else than that, you're not gonna see much results with him on Maddening Mode. And lastly, in C tier, this is going to be another debatable one. I'm probably going to get a little heat from this, but I have Caspar in C tier. Caspar, in my experience, is the biggest coin flip unit in the game. You will end up with a Caspar that can either frontline for you, or he's going to be on cleanup duty as just a chip unit. He has decent HP, strength, speed, and dex growth, but he doesn't really excel in anything. That's what I mean by he's a coin flip. You can have I've had Caspars that are either really good frontline units or just really mediocre units that don't develop. His consistency is off, and that's unfortunate for him. It really is, especially with his growths. His growths make him seem like he'd be better than he actually is. But he does struggle, especially with his low defense. He will naturally turn into a glass cannon. But if you really want Caspar to have the best chance of success, you need to put him on a Wyvern. But however, just training him on a Wyvern takes a bit of effort because Wyverns are a bit expensive to train in terms of time, resources that you have to spend on a unit lecturing them, and you're just better off putting that in other units. If you go for a max professor level early, like what I always do and what my monastery tutorial video shows you how to do, then you have the extra activity points to maybe put them on a Wyvern. But I personally don't feel like that's worth it. It's just why develop him when there's better units to develop. And unfortunately, with his low defense growths, it's almost not worth it putting down Armor Knight. It doesn't really help him. I've tried that. It doesn't help him at all. He's better just fully committing to the Warrior and War Master builds. Just go all in on his strength. Just let him smack the shit out of people. And if you get really good luck growths with him, you could get a really good crit build out of him. But again, it's just such a coin flip. Everything with Caspar is a coin flip. But he does have a lot of potential. It's just his consistency that really holds him back, and his low defense growths. Next up, we have the B tier units. The B tier units are solid units, but they do have some shortcomings that can limit their potential and consistency. But again, these are not bad units just because of how many units might be above them or below them. I needed a drink there. A lot of talking, and it is dry outside. Anyway, first up for B tier. Again, these are in no particular order. I'll organize them as I move on. But first up in B tier, I have Yuritsa. Yuritsa is an interesting unit. He does have access to counterattack through his Death Knight class, which is such an incredible ability. But the problem with Yuritsa that's keeping him out of A tier is his very limited availability. He is only available on Crimson Flower, and he is a very late recruit. If you do decide to run Yuritsa, you're gonna have to bench somebody who's already established on your team, unless you're using him as like a 12th man or something for the larger maps, which could work. But he's so limited in availability, and when you do decide to use him, you have to dump so many resources into him to get him up to speed with the rest of your units. Oh, hi, Sothis. That mastermind he has is good. I don't know what that means. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, Yuritsa, if he was available in other routes, and if he wasn't such a late recruit, he would be an easy A tier. With his growths, with counterattack in his Death Knight class, he has that potential. But his limited availability and his late recruitment and his high demand investment is what's keeping him out of A tier. But if you think Yuritsa is an A tier unit, I wouldn't be upset by that. Mastermind is the Lysithia skill where it doubles weapon. Okay. Yeah. No, that is good. But here's the thing about... I was going to talk about this later. Actually, I will talk about it later. I'll shelve that, but I'll circle back to something like that. Next up in B tier, this is going to be another controversial one. Some people will have him higher, some people will have him lower. I have Seteth in B tier. Seteth is kind of in the same boat as Yuritsa. Late availability will have him finding a hard time finding a starting role in your lineup. But he does have the potential to be an A tier unit. He has the stats for it. He has the growth for it. And most importantly, he has access to Swift Strikes, which is the best lance skill in the game. And he's a really solid user for Swift Strikes. The problem is that by the time he joins, your main core is going to be established, which is like what I said for Yuritsa. It's going to be hard to rotate him in. But with that being said, he does make a very solid 12th man unit. And if you do decide to invest the time and resources into him, he will be a very solid unit, especially on hard mode. But we're not talking about hard mode. We're talking about Maddening Mode, which makes it harder to get him going. One thing that Seteth has that Yuritsa doesn't, that makes me value Seteth more than Yuritsa, is Seteth is available on every route except Crimson Flower, whereas Yuritsa is only available on Crimson Flower. So you're going to have one of these two on your team as a very solid offensive 12th man for the bigger maps. That's crazy, Hub. That's crazy. Next up in B tier, this is going to be another controversial one, but I have Shamir as a B tier unit. Much like Catherine, Alois, Manuela, Shamir is a bit of a later recruitment. She's not super late, but she is late enough to where you're going to have a hard time getting her back on track. Because again, Three Houses absolutely despises recruitments that are anything but early game, which I hate. But what keeps Shamir in B tier above Alois, Manuel, and Hanneman is that she is a damn good sniper when you get her. If you get her early on, if your Byleth is a high enough level to get her. Especially with Sniper's access to Hunter's Volley. That's what keeps her out of C tier. Hunter's Volley and her base stats when you recruit her. What keeps her out of A tier for me is that she does fall off by Act 2. Her strength and speed growths are inconsistent at best. And the only thing she will be consistent in is her accuracy and crit rate. Unless you are unwilling to invest a lot of time and resources into her to help her strength and speed, she is probably best deployed until your other snipers are, you know, snipers. But she's a good early promote that can help you with tougher maps. Her viability in part 1 is what keeps her in B tier for me. Yes, exactly. So the sniper from the get-go and a plus bows is nice. Yes, she's a good placeholder in my opinion until like your Felixes, your Claudes, your Yuris, your Leonis, your whoever's are developed as a sniper and ready to take her place. And she can still find use as a solid 11th or 12th man unit just because Hunter's Volley is that good. But if you really want to make Shamir work, get her out of sniper. When you get her, put her in Brigand or Warrior. It's going to take a lot of investment to grind up those skills for her, but let her spend time in a class that helps her strength. Let her master those. Let her get Death Blow. You know what I mean? Help her with her strength, then put her back on Sniper, and then let her go to work. Then she could probably turn into a very solid late game unit. But again, she just needs a ton of resources that, in my opinion, is best allocated to other units. But yeah, personal skill is nice, but not enough for her to tank. Yeah, and I'll get to personal skills here in just a moment. Next up in B tier, I feel like my whole B tier is just controversy. And I didn't intend it to be that way. Again, B tier, they are solid units, but they do have more shortcomings that can limit their overall potential. But again, I just want to emphasize solid units these guys are. Next up in B tier, I have Raphael. Raphael is probably one of the best armor knights in the game. He has the highest HP growth in the game, and he's in a 5-way tie for the 4th highest strength growth. He will hit hard and he will tank hard, but he wants to become a Fortress Knight. You can run him as a War Master, but when you try to make him work as a War Master, you are going to realize just how slow he really is. When you put him in Fortress Knight, though, it complements him so well with his already high HP growth. It helps out his defense growth, which he kind of wants a little bit. And it complements his strength growth. Again, he's just a textbook Fortress Knight. I don't think he has the speed to make anything else work, but War Masters can help him work. I have had success with him as War Master, but he's just better as a Fortress Knight all around. Yeah, he is a bit of a one-trick pony. He does excel as a wall, but will struggle to find his footing in anything else. What also hurts Raphael is that he has a weakness in bows and riding. If he didn't have a weakness in bows, he'd probably make one of the best archers in the game, especially if you could get him Hunter's Volley. But you could brute force his archer or bow growth and force him into sniper, which I haven't really tried on Maddening Mode or really hard mode for that matter, because he's just so good as a Fortress Knight. But yeah, that's Raphael in a nutshell. Next up in B tier, I have Linhardt. Linhardt's in B tier because Three Houses hates male healers. They don't get a masterclass. The females get Gremory, but the males don't. The memories are stuck as a priest in advanced class, which really holds Linhardt back. He really needs a masterclass. You could try him as a Holy Knight, but Holy Knights just are not good on Maddening Mode. They're viable to an extent on hard mode, but to be fair, what isn't viable on hard mode in Three Houses? But Linhardt, he's held back by the game. He is a very solid healer for what it's worth. He has great magic growths, but the game just doesn't do anything to help him. And he also gets 0 personal combat arts. He only gets battalion renewal for an ability. Like, he has nothing unique to him. No combat arts, which is wild, and only battalion renewal for a unique ability. The game hates him, and I don't know why. But what Linhardt has going for him is he gets warp, which is very nice for him. But again, the game is just holding him back. He's a good healer. He will be healing units for a lot of HP, but he's just held back with no masterclass. But he is also a solid warp user. He doesn't have the speed stat to make him consistent as a offensive unit. If you wanted to like try to recruit Mercedes or Marianne and then convert him to a magic unit or a mage, because his magic stat is just good enough for that on paper. But he doesn't have the speed growth for it. And in Maddening Mode, a bad speed growth is what is going to sink your mages. They need to double units. And Linhardt won't be doing that. So he's best used as a healer, but the game just hating him is what keeps him in B tier. And if you want an example of mages that have really good viability on hard mode, but are almost unusable as a mage in Maddening Mode because of their speed limitations, another prime example of that is Annette. But I'll get to Annette here in a moment. But point being, Linhardt's shortcomings aren't his own fault. It's just the game hating male healers, and Linhardt in particular. All right, next up in B tier is another, I'm sure, controversial one. And I have Petra as a B tier unit. She is fast. Yes, she is very fast, but her inconsistent strength growths makes her a bit of the Black Eagle version of Ingrid. I have had Petras that turn into complete monsters offensively, but I've also had others that turn into just chippers that are reserved for either cleanup duty or dodge tanking. She will make a fantastic dodge tank, either as an assassin or as a Pegasus Knight, but her inconsistency on offense is what's keeping her out of A tier. If you do want her to go and take on a prominent offensive role, she needs to spend time as a brigand and probably some time as a wyvern. But it doesn't complement her going to Pegasus Knight or Assassin. Those are kind of branching paths. And if you want to tie them together and really make her work like that, you're going to have to invest a lot in her. She's a very high cost unit. And for me, that keeps her out of A tier. But just like Seteth and Yuritsa and Shamir, if you do decide to invest a lot into her to overcome those shortcomings, she will be a solid A tier level unit. But she will consistently develop into a dodge tank and a speedy unit. She just will not be a reliable hitter for you. At least in my experience with her. Yeah, 2 times 0 is still 0. I like her a lot more as a student than a unit. Who are you referring to? Damn username available. Also, how are you, man? It's good to see you. Yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say on Petra besides that. Petra, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, 2 times 0 for her damage output. Yeah, yeah, you said it. Next up in B tier, this is I know I'm gonna catch some heat for this. This is probably my hottest take on this tier list, but I also have in B tier Lysithea. And before you get mad at me, before anybody gets mad at me, let me ask you this. Besides having access to warp and being a Cavalier nuke, what else is she really good for? She does her job extremely well as a reserve healer and as a warper / support unit, while also nuking the Death Knight early, which is big, as well as other Cavs consistently throughout the game. She is a Cav killer. And if you run into a route that has a lot of Cavs, she is going to be really good at her job. But besides that, she is a textbook glass cannon. And there are other mage roles that can do a better job than her, and there are also better nukes that can consistently hit harder across a wider variety of mages than Lysithea. But she is going to cost you Divine Pulse uses if you are not careful with her. She is very, very squishy. And she doesn't have a prominent offensive role compared to other units above her. If you have Lysithea as an A tier unit, I'm actually not upset about that. But for me, just the complete lack of enemy phase potential for her is what's holding her back for me. And also that she will have trouble doubling certain units late game. Maybe I just get speed screwed Lysithea's, but even just looking at her stats on paper, I know judging units based off of their on paper stats is not a good thing just because they don't develop as such. I mean, look at Anna. Anna has the 4th highest growth total in the game, but she doesn't do anything. Same for like that. I don't know. I think I've made my point on that. But yeah, she has the highest magic stat in the game, but if she doesn't have her relic with 2 range, she falls off. That's a good point. She does want Thyrsus also. She is a fantastic Thyrsus user. But even then, there's just better Thyrsus users, and I'll get to them in a moment. Also, I just realized looking at my notes, I forgot to put Dorothea in my notes. Yeah, Dorothea, I'm gonna backtrack. Dorothea is a C tier unit for me. She does make a solid dancer, but that's all I've really had luck with her with on Maddening Mode. She does not have the offensive output for Maddening Mode to justify her as a mage. Her also lack of faith growth makes it harder to use her compared to every other dual use mage unit in the game. She does get Meteor, which is nice, but it's so limited in its use, it doesn't justify putting Dorothea higher. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about Dorothea. Anyways, going back to B tier, my final B tier unit. This is going to be another controversial one. Again, my whole B tier is just controversial. My last B tier unit is Ingrid. Recently, sorry, I'm dying over here. Recently in my Verdant Wind Maddening run here on the channel, I figured out that Ingrid actually has really good potential as a mage. I ran Ingrid as a mage just because I needed another female unit and I needed a mage to round out the rules and recruitment barriers that I set out for myself. But she actually turned into a really solid mage unit. Maybe my Ingrid just got blessed magically, but she was consistently doubling armor knights She had really good offensive output as a mage. But that's just her as a mage. If we're talking about her as a Pegasus Knight, she's very similar to Petra. She is very inconsistent with her offensive growth, but she will be very consistent with speed. She will be a dodge tank. She will be able to tank actually pretty decently. But again, her offensive limitations is what's keeping her out of A tier. Her growths just are inconsistent. She will be fast, which will help her on Pegasus Knights, but if you want to help her out, put her on a Wyvern. It will hurt her speed and dodging a little bit compared to what she would do as a Pegasus Knight, but I guess it comes down to priority. If you want a Ingrid that's more offensive minded, put her as a mage like I did down the Gramarye path, or stick her on a Wyvern. But if you're fine with her being a dodge tank and a cleanup unit who can actually do a little bit of tanking on the side, then Pegasus Knight is a solid option for her. But if you want her in a combat role, you have to commit early to her. You have to know that you want to put her as an offensive unit and get her down the Brigand path and Axe path to help her strength for as long as you can before you put her on a Wyvern or a Pegasus, or commit to her mage early. But mage paths are so linear that there isn't really a branching path for mages until you get to the master class stuff. She is also a very flexible unit, and a nice thing she has going for her is that she has no weaknesses in her skills. So she's not going to be hindered by anything. She's very flexible in tutoring. But just, I wouldn't bet on Ingrid becoming your hardest hitter. Now, we move into A tier. These units are going to be very consistent offensively. They are going to be some of your main frontline units, and they don't struggle with consistency nearly as much as your B tier units. And there are quite a few A tier units. So first up for my A tiers, I have Balthus. Balthus can be built as a War Master into just the ultimate critting machine. Like, it is so easy to get him with 80% crit minimum by late game. He will just decimate anything that he fights with the right setup, and it is so fun to do. He does appreciate spending some time as an Armor Knight, maybe even Fortress Knight before going to War Master, just to help his defense out a little bit. If you do decide to frontline him, and by frontline him I mean let him handle enemy phases, he would really appreciate spending time as an Armor Knight, but it's really not necessary because he does have very solid defense, and his personal skill is actually fairly helpful for him throughout the entire game. He will excel as a Fortress Knight or War Master, so he does have flexibility. If you want another armored unit, another consistent tank on your team, Balthus is a great answer. But if you want another offensive cannon, War Master is also a great option. He has options. I've never tried him as a Wyvern, but let's be honest, Wyvern is just so good in 3 houses that really anybody could work on Wyvern with enough input. I mean, shoot, look at my Wyvern Annette. She's an absolute menace. But yeah, Balthus, he has a ton of flexibility. He has great growth. And he, best of all, he's very consistent. Which in Maddening Mode is the #1 thing you can ask for in a unit, more than their growths. If the unit is consistent, it doesn't matter what their growths are, because you already know what you're going to get out of them. There is no coin flipping with them like Caspar or Petra and Ingrid's strength. You know what you're getting out of Balthus. Next up in A tier, I have Marianne. Much like Balthus, Marianne is also a bit of a pocket tool unit. She has a lot that you can do with her. You can commit her to a Gremory path and make her a really solid healer. You can commit her to being a dancer, where she's also a really good support dancer, especially since she likes swords. And also, speaking of swords, she makes a good magic sword user. If you want to push her down her warlock path and you give her what's the skill that she gets? Soul Blade. She gets Soul Blade, which can also help her with her naturally high res growth. Or is it magic? Either way, she excels in magic and res, so she's a really good Soul Blade user as well. If you commit to that, it's probably her weakest of the 3 paths, but there's so much you can do with Marianne. She's just got a lot going for her. In terms of healing, she's not as good as Mercedes, as she only gets access to Physic. But again, her usability, her consistency, it's just so good, and it's so nice to have. She's so reliable. And honestly, she is probably the best dancer in the game, just from a support perspective. Now, if we're talking about offensive dancers, there are better alternatives to that, but she's solid in anything that you want to do with her. So she's an easy A tier unit. And speaking of A tier healers, next up I have Mercedes. She is, in my opinion, the best healer in the game. She gets access to Fortify and Physic, 2 of which will be massive in late game, especially Fortify. And especially on the Azure Moon final maps, Mercedes and her Fortify is going to be a lifesaver. She's not as versatile as Marianne. She really only wants to be a healer, but she is so good at being a healer, and she's so consistent with it. She's an easy A tier. I always like to go after her in my Maddening playthroughs, even on Verdant Wind or Crimson Flower, Silver Snow. I always try to get Mercedes just because she's just such a phenomenal healer. But yeah, that's really all I can say. Also, Live to Serve, it's all right on her. If she had better defensive growths, then you could probably meme build her into something that helps with a frontline mage build that keeps itself alive with Live to Serve. But it's Live to Serve is so niche on her, unless you're really mage tanking with her. But none of the maps in the game really have a whole lot of mages running around to make use of that. So Live to Serve isn't really super special. And I guess while I'm talking about Live to Serve, I'll take this opportunity to talk about personal skills for the units. And the interesting thing about 3 houses and personal skills is that they're all really most viable in early game, but they slowly get worse and worse as the game goes on. For example, let's use Dedue. Dedue gets +4 defense when he waits, which in the early maps is incredible. In early game, that is so good. It makes him almost unkillable. But when you get to late game and Dedue has like 60 plus HP, saving himself 4 damage physically is not that impressive for him. You see what I mean? Like, saving 4 damage early game is way more valuable than saving 4 damage late game. Which, I mean, the same thing applies to Felix. Felix's combat art, Lone Wolf, I think it's called, which gives him +5 damage when he doesn't have a battalion. So good early game. Probably one of the best personal skills early game. But late game, 5 extra damage isn't really helping a whole lot. It still is useful, especially if you're hunters volleying people. Like 10 damage can make a big difference. But the point being, personal skills for units, they're much better in early game than late game. But I like that balancing. It's not like Fates or awakening level personal skills where they'll be viable all game for some units. So I like it, but I mention this because I don't factor in personal skills when I rank these units. Just because, again, they're all really useful early game, but they fall off late game. And by late game, they don't even really matter for the most part to me. So I don't factor in personal skills when I rank these units. And I don't think it's fair to judge a unit's viability when picking your starters in a Maddening run based off their personal skills, unless you really struggle with Act 1. Moving on, next A tier unit I have is Leonie. Leonie is also a super versatile unit. She makes a fantastic Cavalier. She makes a really good dancer, as we figured out in my last Verdant Wind playthrough. She is a incredible dodge tank as a dancer, and she does have solo run potential. She can get really broken. I just didn't invest enough resources into her to make her a true solo run S tier level or X tier level unit. But Leon, she has so much potential. She's a really good early game tank, and her base speed is also really good. She can actually deal with the Death Knight the first time you fight him in the Rite of Rebirth mission. She can survive a round of combat early with the Death Knight, which is huge. She's got great growths, especially in her speed and dex. And her shortcoming, though, is that she does want help with her strength and defense. But she's not like bad in them. She just wants a little help with them, which I usually just put her in Brigand for a little bit, give her death blow, help her with her strength a little bit, then she'll be pretty well set to do whatever she wants. She makes a fantastic Pegasus Knight. She'd make a great Wyvern. She makes a good dodge tank with a dancer build. She makes a really good archer. There's just so much you can do with Leonie, and she has the growths to support really anything you want to do with her. She's a very friendly beginner unit because you really cannot go wrong with her. As long as she's not going down a magic path, you're going to be okay on Maddening Mode with Leonie, and she will be putting in really solid work for you. Yeah, for sure, Hyper. That's what this is for, right? Just helpful advice. I think Leonie is underrated in the community. I feel like the community would rate her a bit lower than I have her, just based on what I see online, but she's just so good. Pound for pound, in really anything you want to do with her, she's just a great unit. Next up in A tier, we have Sylvain. Sylvain is Diet Ferdinand, but the difference between him and Ferdinand is that Sylvain is actually fairly easy to recruit. He's a free recruit if you have female Byleth, which is hilarious, but it makes sense for his character. He's a really good Swift Strikes user, so he should be a highly sought after recruit, especially if you can get him early with female Byleth. But yeah, he's so good. You can have him spend time as a Fortress Knight or to help his defense. You can have him as a warrior to help out his strength. But he already does have fantastic HP and strength growths. He makes a really good Great Knight late game. There's just so much you can do with him, but he really likes to be on Cavalier. That's kind of his thing. But you could also make him really good as a Wyvern. But that says more about the Wyvern than the Cavalier. But yeah, very solid all-around unit with Sylvain. You can do so much with him like Leonie. But he's better suited as a Cav or a Wyvern. But yeah, very good Swift Strikes user. He will be one-rounding units late game with it. Next up in A tier, Man, yeah, I have a lot of units in A tier. We have Hilda. Hilda, you could argue, is a borderline S tier unit. She's definitely one of the best A tier units, and she's probably one of the most flexible units you can run in terms of build, as long as she's holding an axe or a lance. She's not as flexible as Leone, but if she's holding an axe or a lance, she will be useful in your runs. She will be your best tank as a Fortress Knight or Wyvern Lord. She gets really good growth in there. Obviously, people like Raphael or Dedu are going to make better Fortress Knights than her. And other units are going to make better Wyverns than her, but she is very solid in anything that she wants to do. My recent build in Black Eagles, I gave her, or pardon me, Verdant Wind. I gave her both Pavis and Aegis. I had her spend time as a Paladin and an Armor Knight to give her both of those skills. And let me tell you guys, she became unkillable with both of those skills on her. But unfortunately, my Hilda did get strength screwed. So if you go back and you look at that playthrough, that is not an accurate representation of how she always turns out. That was probably the worst strength screwed Hilda I have ever seen. She had the second lowest strength stat out of every starter that I had on the team. And it was a train wreck with her strength, but defensively, that was the best Hilda I have ever made. She can turn into your best wall on the team if you give her Pavis and Aegis and she gets a decent skill growth. With her high charm, she will also be a consistent late game Gambit user, which is really big since Maddening units love to have high charm for whatever reason. So any consistent Gambit user late game is going to be very helpful. And she also gets access to Battalion Wrath to be the little cherry on top of her enemy phase potential. So ton of offensive potential with Hilda, ton of defensive potential with her. Just an all-around amazing unit. What's keeping Hilda out of S tier for me, again, you can completely argue that Hilda is an S tier unit, and I would not be upset about that at all. What keeps her out of S tier for me is her limited access in White Clouds if you chose the Black Eagles. If you chose... She only becomes available in White Clouds for Black Eagle route if you choose to betray Edelgard in Chapter 11. But by then, she's such a late game recruit that she's just crippled. There is no using her by that point. So really, she's only usable in Golden Deer or Azure Moon routes. She's very limited in her recruiting just because she's not really available for half of the routes. Now, you can argue in Verdant Wind and Azure Moon she is an S tier unit, which she is, absolutely. But just the availability part of it is just enough to keep her out of it. Next up in A tier, this one is also going to be a bit of a hot take. But I'm putting all my bias aside on this, okay? There is no bias in this. And I say that because my next A tier unit is Annette. Here's the thing. If you run Annette as a rally bot, she is an F tier unit. She is a terrible rally bot, despite being the best rally bot in the game. Rallying is so bad in Three Houses. If rallying was like it was in Fates, where it rallies multiple units at once, then she would be a really good rally bot user. But she's not, because rally botting is ass. If you're using her as a mage, she is also probably a D tier or C tier unit. Because like I said about Constance, she doesn't have the speed to be viable as a Gremory or Warlock in Maddening. But on hard mode, she is. She will make a fantastic Warlock or Gremory on hard mode, just because her speed will enable her to double so much. But in Maddening, she won't. So she's a C tier at best Gremory. On Maddening Mode, she's an F tier, D tier rally bot. But the reason why she's in A tier is because she makes one of the best wyverns in the game. What I do for my Annettes, and my regulars will tell you this, I have her focus on reason from the very get-go of the game until she gets Lightning Axe. From there, she focuses on learning axes and flying and authority. She is going to be a bit of a high investment unit, but in my opinion, the reward of it is so worth the investment that she wants. Because when you get her Lightning Axe and you keep her in magic classes from Mage to Warlock, she will not go to Gremory. She's gonna master Warlock, and then you're gonna put her on Wyvern Rider, and then she's gonna master it and go to Wyvern Lord. But if you keep her as a Mage until Warlock is mastered, she will have an insanely good magic stat that when you put her on a Wyvern and give her that 9 movement, she will just be a flying nuke. She will one-shot Armor Knights. She will one-shot Cavaliers. She will one-shot Swordmasters. She'll one-shot Mortal Savants. She will one-shot just about anything she fights late game. And if you feed her defense boosters from the root vegetable seeds, because as you guys know, in my monastery guide, I said that defense is the most important stat of the game, and root vegetable seeds are also really good for farming because they give you a lot of food that all of the students like. But if you give a lot of those defense boosters to Annette, not even a lot, just a handful of them, just a decent amount, she will turn into one of your best frontline units. Like, you'd be amazed how well of a tank that she can become. And the best part, she's a flying nuke. She can fly in, nuke somebody back to last week, and then Kanto away to safety. She will be a fantastic boss killer late. And even better for her, if you give her a Forged Lightning Axe, she's gonna have 3 range with a magic axe on a Wyvern. She is probably, in my opinion, the single most underrated unit in the game in terms of community results, but I have made Annette such a reliable and consistent nuke on a Wyvern that she is such an easy A tier. She is a staple in all of my Maddening runs, and that's all my bias and love for Annette and her character put aside. Again, this is a non-biased ranking of her. She's just amazing as a Wyvern. But if you do anything else with her besides her flying Lightning Axe build, yeah, she's not very good on Maddening Mode at all. But yeah. Moving on. Another really solid A tier unit. We have my boy Dedue. Dedue is a Vengeance user, and we'll get to Vengeance in a little bit. But so the thing about Bernie and Dedue is that with Bernie and Vengeance, well, with Vengeance in general, you want to be as low of HP as you can, because the lower the HP you have, the more might your Vengeance build will get. Now, the thing about Dedue, he has the highest HP stat, or no, pardon me, he has the second highest HP stat in the game. But the problem with him is that he is so bulky on defense, it can be really tricky to get him down to 1 HP. Compared to Bernie, where she's made of wet tissue paper, you just really need to sneeze on her and she'll easily drop to 1 HP with a guard adjutant. With Dedue, it's going to take a bit of work to get him down there, which can make it really easy to get him killed just because he can't rely on a guard adjutant to save him as reliably as Bernie can. But the best way to get Dedue to 1 HP is either to give him a Hero's Relic because he doesn't have a crest and just let him self-damage to 1 HP, or you just have him fight a mage with a guard adjutant and get him down to 1 HP that way. But it's just limited in the ways to get him down low. That being said, if you get him down to 1 HP and you've been helping him with high HP growth units like Armor Knight and Fortress Knights, he will be the single hardest hitter in the game. Nobody will do more damage than Dedue in one hit than when you get him down to 1 HP on Vengeance. It's just getting him down there that's the problem. Now, what's keeping him out of S tier for me is that he is only available in Azure Moon. He's only available on one route, and unless you do his paralog, he will not be available in Act 2, and you won't be with him for the early chapters of Act 2, mainly 12 and 13. Chapter 12 on Azure Moon would be so much easier if Dedue was there, but he is very limited in his availability, which is why I keep him out of S tier. Because again, this is for the whole game, not just the route that these units are on. If we're talking about just Azure Moon ratings, then yes, he is an easy S tier, easily. But we're not talking about just Azure Moon. We're talking about the whole game. So his limited availability is what keeps him out of S tier for me. But, and also going back to the personal skill debate, his personal skill, which gives him +4 defense when he waits on player phase, is probably one of the best personal skills in early game, but it's just not that helpful late game. So again, I'm not judging him based on his personal skill, but he is probably one of, if not the best early game units. Not just because of his personal skill, just in general. He is going to make Azure Moon Maddening so much easier, which is why I recommend any new player to Maddening Mode to play Azure Moon first. Azure Moon, while it does have probably the hardest end game, or maybe even late game, but no, I'd give that to Crimson Flower for hardest late game. But point being, Azure Moon is difficult on paper, but the Blue Lions are just so good that it's a very beginner friendly maddening experience. And when I say beginner friendly, I mean like you've got hard mode down, you understand the units, and you want to try your hand at maddening. If you're a beginner to the game and you try Blue Lions maddening, it's going to kick your ass, like straight up. So don't get that twisted. But yeah, solid unit Dedue is very, very solid. And speaking of really solid units that are just extremely limited in availability, we have Hubert. Hubert is a very hard hitting mage, and he's got a great catalog of skills, be it reason or dark magic. I find him to be better as a dark magic unit, but he could work as either. He's tied for the 3rd highest magic growth in the game, and he actually has solid speed. But again, this is why you can't judge a unit just based on their growth rates, because Hubert will never be that fast of a unit. The magic or the dark mage classes, which is what was basically made for Hubert. Like dark mage exists for Hubert. Like the only other unit you might put down that is Linhardt. Maybe, but yeah, the class was made for Hubert. And he's really good at it, but it will not grow his speed at all. So good luck trying to take advantage of his magic or speed. Just try to take advantage of his magic. He will be just a fantastic Punisher, especially if you give him Dark Bishop and he gets Life Taker. Like he can be a really solid Life Taker unit. And if you really want to try to make Hubert good, like more of an enemy phase unit, give him Vantage. Like it's gonna suck. It's gonna be a terrible grind. But if you could get him Vantage would help him out so much. Just with how hard he hits alone. And Life Taker does complement him quite a bit. But he does have really good potential. And again, what's keeping Hubert out of S tier for me is that he's only available in Crimson Flower. If you go Black Eagle route and then go Silver Snow, he will leave you. And he's not available in the other routes. That's what keeps him out of S tier for me. Very limited availability. But if we're just ranking units on Crimson Flower, then yes, he is an S tier. Not as hard of an S tier as Dedue is in Azure Moon, but he is an S tier unit in Black Eagles. Finally, we made it to the end of A rank. I have one last A tier unit. And my final A tier unit is Male Byleth. Male Byleth is just like female Byleth, except he's missing out on the perks that make female Byleth so good, but I'll cover her in just a little bit. So normally I would, if you were to ask me this like a year ago, I would definitely say Male Byleth is a B tier unit. He does struggle with his growth. He's not really super good at anything. He can be a decent sword master. Like, he'll put in work for you, but he's not like a game changer. And then in my Verdant Wind playthrough, I decided to spend more time training up Byleth instead of recruiting. And I gave Byleth Alert Stance Plus, and I put him down the Swordmaster and Assassin classes. And he turned into a phenomenal dodge tank. And it made Chapter 13 so much easier. He turned into a really, really solid unit as a Swordmaster with Alert Stance Plus. It did take a bit of effort and it did hurt the recruiting efforts, but if you are going to just stick with your class units and not really recruit much, I cannot recommend Alert Stance Plus Male Byleth enough. He will save your ass so many times. You just put him on a forest tile and you just watch him just slowly whittle everything down, especially if you can choke with him. Great build. And if it wasn't for that Verdant Wind playthrough that I did, he probably would be sitting in B tier right now. But yeah, I will never be able to run a Male Byleth the same ever again. But with that being said, it's time to move on to the S tier units. These are units that are going to carry a playthrough. These are staple units, and they should be staples for any Maddening run. They have little to no shortcomings. They are extremely consistent, and they will be your main punishers. First up in S tier, this is going to be a controversial one, I already know, but I have Happy in S tier. Like I said with personal skills, most of them will fall off late game. One of the exceptions to that rule is Happy's. Happy's personal skill makes every attack she does effective damage against demonic beasts. And that is unbelievably helpful. You have no idea how helpful that skill is until you run her, especially on Silver Snow. Holy cow, is that skill amazing on Silver Snow. With all that being said, also, she makes a fantastic Valkyrie unit. I know that's her class, like her canon class, just from the DLC, but you put her on a Valkyrie, you give her Thyrsus, and you give her S rank Reason, she will outrange snipers. Like, she will have Canto, she'll have a bajillion range, and she'll be able to just run away. She'll be a phenomenal agitator. She'll be a phenomenal beast killer. She's just an incredible unit. Yes, she's very squishy and she will not be a frontline unit, but the range potential with her, how well Valkyrie complements her as a unit, just makes her a staple. I will never play a Silver Snow Maddening run again until, or I mean, I will never play a Silver Snow Maddening run again without Happy. She's just incredible on any route, on any difficulty. If you are struggling with beasts, Happy is your solution. And she's probably the best Thyrsus user in the game. I think she's better than Lysithea, obviously, based on how I have them ranked. But yeah, Happy's the best Thyrsus user in the game. But Hubert's also pretty good with it. But point being, Happy is, in my opinion, the best mage unit in the game. And I know that's a hot take, and we can debate that all we want between her and Lysithea, but I don't know how you debate against her personal skill plus Valkyrie. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say about Happy. Next up in S tier, we have Ferdinand. Ferdinand is probably the most well-rounded unit in the game. He has very solid HP, strength, and speed growths. And if you let him spend time as an Armor Knight and Fortress Knight before putting him on a Wyvern, he is going to become probably your best frontline unit. In my recent Verdant Wind playthrough, just like Hilda, I gave Ferdinand Aegis and Pavis, and he became unkillable. Nothing could touch him. His skill stat was through the roof. He was just proccing those skills so much. He could not die. The only things that could touch him were mages and archers, and even then, he was proccing Aegis and Pavis so much, it just was not making a difference. And on top of all of that, he is easily the best Swift Strikes user in the game. Easily. It just complements him so well. He's going to be running around nuking units. And the best part, he doesn't even need to canto away to safety. He just cantos into a better defensive phase position. He's just phenomenal. He's great at just about anything that he wants to do. But the only real downside to Ferdinand is that he is easily the hardest unit to recruit. He doesn't get a B support in Act 1 with Byleth, which means you're gonna have to train Byleth in heavy armor if you want to recruit Ferdinand, which is super annoying. But in my opinion, it's worth it for Ferdinand. Just have Byleth spend a few sessions, get him up to D rank or C rank, whatever it is that he wants for a C+ support rank, and just get him. You will not regret it. Yeah, it's going to be annoying wasting the points on Byleth, but for Ferdinand, it's worth getting him early. Because again, recruiting units late in 3 House is just such a bad thing. It's so dumb how much 3 Houses hates late recruits. But yeah, great unit, Ferdinand. Next up, this is going to be another hot take, but I have Bernadetta as an S rank unit. She is, in my opinion, I think she's the best vengeance user in the game, just because how easily it is to get her down to 1 HP. Just make sure she has a guard adjutant. She is going to demand a guard adjutant if you want vengeance to really work with her. But have her certify as a Fortress Knight or an Armor Knight just to give her the certification buff in HP. If you really want, you can have her master the classes just to give her some levels to help with her strength and HP. But reality is just keep her in Brigand and Warrior. Do not put her down Archer class, and she will turn into a powerful nuke that will just one-shot bosses. Like, go back and watch my Silver Snow, my Crimson Flower, or my Verdant Wind playthroughs. She's just nuking any boss she fights. Like, she's the ultimate boss killer. Yes, she's squishy. Yes, you have to put her in danger to get her down to 1 HP, but it's so worth it. And especially late game, if you can put her on a Bow Knight just to give her that mobility, or a Wyvern to give her mobility, then she becomes even better. But yeah, and also to Bernadetta's credit, she makes also a really good Bow Knight if you don't want to invest in her into her vengeance and you just want to keep her as an archer, she does make a really solid archer. She won't hit very hard because her strength is super inconsistent, but she's very accurate. And also she gets access to enclosure, which is why you probably want to have her spend some time learning bows, just so she can get enclosure, because in Maddening Mode, enclosure is so helpful. It's a free staff is what it is, especially if you have her master archer and get hit plus 20 and then pair that with enclosure. She's just a free staff essentially. So if she can't nuke something that turn, or if you don't want her to nuke something, she can just freeze a unit that's threatening another unit, which is so helpful. She has so many tools in her kit that just let her be an amazing versatile unit on a bow knight and as a wyvern. Absolutely phenomenal unit. I will die on this hill defending Bernie being in S tier. And if you disagree with Bernie being an S tier unit, it's because you're not building her right. You can argue with me on that. Next up in S tier, we have Yuri. I was very wrong on Yuri. I tried running Yuri for the first time on hard mode as a trickster / sword user, and he was very just meh. But then I made him a sniper on Maddening Mode, just because I thought he had potential for that. And I can probably say with confidence, he is probably the second best archer in the entire game. Yeah, exactly. So he does also get wind sweep very early. So if you do put him as an archer, he can also still use swords and wind sweep if you need a free hit. But in my opinion, the range he'll get as a sniper is enough to deal free damage without being hit back. He's probably, yeah, he's the second best archer in the game. He's a phenomenal volley user. And the best part about him is that his hero's relic gives him Canto, which makes him just broken. He just waltzes in because he has really good movement. Hunter's volleys somebody and then just walks out. It's so amazing. Oh, hey, Spaghetto. Oh, sorry. I was dropping by, but I gotta go, but I'll be back. DW. I don't know what DW means. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, Spaghetto. Good to see you, man. But going back to Yuri, he's the ultimate hit and run sniper. Curve shot, volley. So helpful. So good. Easily the second best archer in the game. And I keep saying second best, but he will carry you offensively. Get him his relic. I know his paralog is a royal pain in the ass to do. It's probably the hardest paralog in the game. And that's something else we can debate. But it is so worth it. Yuri is a phenomenal unit. And the actual best part about him is that he's a free recruit. Like, he's a free recruit right out of the gate if you have Abyss. Like, go get him, put him on the team as your 10th man, because you get 9 units and you're allowed to deploy 10 for all the maps. Make Yuri your 10th man. If you don't want to bench anybody, he's worth it. Phenomenal archer. And speaking of archers, in my opinion, the best archer in the game is Felix. Felix, he can be good as a swordmaster, but you're not really holding him up to his full potential. It's the same with brawling. Yes, he does make a good brawler, but again, it's not letting him live up to his full potential, but they are both viable on Maddening Mode. His best build though is archer or sniper, and he has the second highest attack growth in the game. Coupling that with Hunter's volley as a sniper, by late game there are not very many units that he will not one round with volley. And to complement him further, his hero's relic gives him Pavis and Aegis, the shield. I can't remember the name of it, but it gives him Aegis and Pavis, and he has a really good skill stat. So he will turn into a frontline archer. Give him close counter, give him his hero's relic, which is not hard to get in his paralog. Put him on a sniper after letting him spend some time in Brigand to give him death blow. And he will be a frontline unit that will just dissolve anything that he wants. Incredible unit. Easily the best archer in the game. He's better than Claude. You can fight me on that. He does more with a bow than Claude. But yeah, it's just phenomenal unit. If you can't run Felix, run Yuri. If you don't have Yuri because you don't have the DLC, run Felix. Every team should have a good sniper on their team. So just, yeah, run Felix. He is a game changer as a sniper. Next up in S tier, this is going to be a controversial one also, but I have Claude in S tier. Claude is a really good unit. And the really nice thing about Claude is that he has natural access to Wyvern. He will be on a Wyvern to start part 2. So you don't even need to really worry about training him up to be a Wyvern. You can dedicate those resources to having him spend time as a warrior if you want him to, as an armor knight if you want him to help, if you want to help his defense, as an archer if you want to help his accuracy. You can do so much to make Claude a fantastic Act 2 Wyvern that, yeah, it's so easy to mold him. And with him being a Wyvern, it makes chapter 13 on to start Act 2 so much easier because you can have him fly away. You can have him fly to safety and help out the other Golden Deer units that spawn in. He can just be moving all around. And he has a really good charm stat and a really good battalion that he starts Act 2 with in Chapter 13. That he's just incredible for early Act 2, which is some of the hardest maps in the game. He's also really good with axes. He's really good with bows. He's probably the 3rd best archer in the game. I will die on the hill that Felix and Yuri are better snipers than him. They're better with bows than him, but that doesn't mean Claude is not good with a bow. He's really good with a bow. He's really good with an axe. He can use lances, although that's not super ideal for him, but he's got so much flexibility with him. And if you know what you want him to do in part 2, you can develop him to fit his weaknesses in part 1. Like I said, having him spend time as an armor knight or brigand warrior, which he probably wants anyway for death blow. Or you can give him armor blow as well. Again, there's so much flexibility to Claude because you have that comfort of him getting a free Wyvern class in part 2. But yeah. Hey, Daniel. How are you, man? Yeah, that's crazy. Hilda. Anyways, I have one final unit. Hey, hey, DJ. How are you, man? I have one final unit for S tier. And I think we all know who it is. It's female Byleth. She does everything that male Byleth does. But in addition to that, she gets access to Pegasus Knight, which is a super good class for her. And she recruits Sylvain for free. Like, I don't know why the game devs liked female Byleth more than male Byleth. I feel like male Byleth should have had a free female recruit. It would make sense to make that Dorothea. Dorothea would be the most fitting female free recruit, just since she's kind of got the hots for male Byleth right out of the gate. But yeah, Byleth, she's the same thing as, or female Byleth as, same thing as male Byleth, except she just has the added perks of being able to go to Pegasus Knight, which is a fantastic skill. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, and she gets free Sylvain, and Sylvain's an A tier unit. So there's really not much I can say. Now we move on to the final tier, the X tier. These are units that will easily solo a late game if they want. They are the most broken units in the game. You will never have a problem developing them. Anything you want to do with them, they will be carrying you in it. They're just easily the best units in the game. And the first one is Dimitri. Dimitri is one of, I think, 2 units that has access to both Battalion Wrath and Vantage. You give him Battalion Wrath and Vantage, give him his Blue Lion Corps battalion late game, he will solo end game on his own. And if you really want to help him out with soloing late game, put him in a dancer class. Just have him focus exclusively on swords with Sword Avoid. Just focus on swords and authority. Give him his battalion with Battalion Wrath and Vantage. He will solo every single late game map on his own. Especially if you can have like a support unit to give him the... Oh, what's it called? Blue Lion Dancer Corps. That gives him counterattack. That he will solo anything. He will be unkillable. He will crit everything he fights. He's just a game-breaking unit if you just develop him right. Just focus on his authority when you train him, and you will break the game with him. The only shortcoming for Dimitri is that he struggles on Chapter 13. He probably has the worst Chapter 13 out of all of the Lord units. Edelgard doesn't have a Chapter 13 map. Seth can fly on Silver Snow. Claude can fly around on Silver Snow. But Dimitri can't. So, Dimitri really appreciates being catered toward a Chapter 13 build. But just keep that in mind. He will struggle on Chapter 13, but after that, he's just going to start tearing things apart. When Dimitri says kill every last one of them, he wasn't joking. He will do that. And lastly, our final unit on the list, but certainly not least, in X tier, we have Edelgard. She does get access to Lightning Axe early on, but why would you, like, put Edelgard in Magic? I've actually wanted to try running Edelgard as a mage for a little bit to give her a Lightning Axe build. She does have the gross to make a Magic build work. How do you spell her name? Edelgard. There is no U in her name. Edelgard. But she has the highest total growth rates in the game. She's tied with Felix for the second highest strength growth in the game. And most importantly, and those of you who watched my Crimson Flower run will know this, Raging Storm, which is the combat art you get with Amir, her hero's relic, is the single most broken combat art in Fire Emblem. Not Three Houses, in the whole franchise. I know not every game has combat arts. In fact, most of them don't. But there will never be, ever, a combat art as broken as Raging Storm. For those of you who don't know, when you use Raging Storm on Amir, it lets her get a second turn. And Amir has 20 uses. And it's a 5-use... or 4 use, because it takes 5 durability combat art. So she can get 5 turns in 1 turn. And in my Crimson Flower run, Edelgard FTK'd the final Rhea fight. She took all of her health bars and just soloed the boss on her own. Raging Storm alone puts Edelgard into X tier. But couple that with her great strength, her great defense, her natural leaning towards Armor Knight that still somehow doesn't slow her down a whole lot. She is phenomenal. And I could not imagine this game if Raging Storm could be used on any weapon. Like if it was an Edelgard exclusive, you just give Edelgard an inventory full of Iron Axe pluses and she will route an entire map in one turn. It would be hilarious. But yeah, there's really not much else to say about Edelgard. Raging Storm is the most broken combat art in all of Fire Emblem. She has the second highest strength growth rate. She has the highest total growth rate. And she can have early access to Lightning Axe for further punishment if you decide to make her a mage. Just incredible. So this is my my list. But I'm not quite done yet. I want to go through and organize all of the units individually on their tier. So F tier, I'm going to move Anna to the bottom. I think Cyril's the best of F tier, but Polish a turd, it's still a turd. I'm going to give Manuela the best D tier ranking. I'm going to give Alois second best. I'm not going to elaborate too much on these lower tiers. C tier. Catherine's definitely the best C tier. I'm going to put Ash as the second best C tier unit. It's true, though. It's true, though. Flane is probably going to be third. Ignat's fourth, just because of their Bow Knight versatility. Lauren's will be fifth, just because of Thyrsis. I'm going to put, actually, Lauren's ahead of Ignat's, just because of Thyrsis. Caspar ahead of Constance, and Constance ahead of Dorothea. Dorothea is the worst C tier unit, in my opinion. B tier... I'm going to give Raphael the best B tier unit. Lysithea second best. Ingrid third. God, this is so hard. Petra's probably fourth. Linhardt fifth. Seteth sixth, just because he's more readily available than Yuritsa and Shamir last. Yeah, these B tier units are all so close. You could interchange these guys however you want, and I would not object to it. I would not put Seteth, Yuritsa, and Shamir or Linhardt at the top of B tier, so that I would probably debate you on. But if you want to put Petra, Ingrid, Lysithea, or Raphael at the top of B tier, that's totally valid. A tier, Hilda's easily the best A tier unit. Balthus is probably second. I would give Annette third. Dedu fourth. Mercedes. Sylvain fifth. No, I'd put Leonie above Sylvain. I'm putting Leonie above Dedu just for availability reasons. Same for Sylvain over Dedu, just because they're more readily available. And Sylvain's a free recruit with female Byleth. Mercedes over Marianne or Hubert. Yeah, I like this. I think Byleth is the worst A tier unit. Yeah. S tier. Best S tier unit. Oh, God. Probably Claude. Then Felix. Then probably Ferdinand, Yuri, Bernie, then Happy, and then Byleth. I think that's fair. And then the best unit in the game is easily Edelgard. I think this is fair. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys think this is a fair rate? So the top 5 units in the game to me are Edelgard first, Dimitri second, Claude third, Felix fourth, and Ferdinand fifth. While the bottom 5 units are Anna, Gilbert, Cyril, Hanneman, and Alois. I think this is a fair rating. I like it. Again, if you're watching this on demand or if you have like later thoughts, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to discuss this further, at least hear your thoughts on all of this. Again, the upper B tiers are very interchangeable. The A tiers are all interchangeable up to, I'd say, Sylvain. I don't think you can make an argument for Dedue, Mercedes, Marianne, Hubert, and Male Byleth being top of A. I don't think that's fair unless you're talking like exclusively Blue Lions, in which case, yes, get Dedue into S tier. He's an S tier Blue Lion unit, but in like terms of the whole game, is availability is just horrendous. Same with Hubert. But Hilda, Balthus, Annette, Leonie, and Sylvain, I could interchange for top of A. I think it's easily Balthus and Hilda for top of A. I think these three are in a tier above Leonie and Sylvain. If there was an A plus tier, it'd probably be these three. But yeah, and then S tier, I don't think you could have Bernie, Happy, and Female Byleth ranked in the top of S. But Claude, Felix, Ferdinand, and Yuri are very interchangeable for that. I don't think Yuri is better than Felix. I think anything Yuri wants to do, Felix is better. But he's still really good. But, yeah. And then Edelgard and Dimitri are easily the best two. You could argue that Dimitri is a better unit than Edelgard. So I wouldn't be upset if somebody thinks Dimitri's better. But I don't think there would be any debate on Dimitri and Edelgard in any discussion that would disagree with Edelgard and Dimitri being top two. I probably could have guessed top four, but I'm surprised by Ferdinand. I hadn't heard much about him as unit. Brother, go watch my Verdant Wind build. I gave him Aegis and Pavis, put him on a Wyvern, and he could not die. Unkillable with Swift Strikes. And also, he made a really good Great Knight also. He's just got so much he can do. No blue hairs and super low level. There's no correlation there. Yeah, that's too, yeah. But that's probably for the best hub, because if they weren't destined to be at odds, they would definitely be having a Sweet Home Alabama type storyline. I mean, let's be honest. They both admit in their dialogue that they were each other's first love. Like what are we doing? Something 5 more years of 3 Houses Discourse. Hey man, it's a fun game to discuss. Everybody has the game that they like to discuss. For me, it's 3 Houses and Fates. I'll have to do a Fates tier list one of these days. But I need to refresh myself on Fates. But yeah. All right, guys, that'll do it. I'm gonna call stream a little early tonight. But I've got some important announcements to go over with you guys. So I will pull those up. Yep, nice short little stream. Let me see here. Okay. God, I'm drinking so much water and yet my throat still feels dry. Okay. I have no updates for the Expedition 33 video. I'm hoping to have voiceover work done on it again this week, but nothing's changed since last week. Stream schedule for this week. We got Radiant Dawn tomorrow. And then Saturday we'll be going into Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 for the time being is going to keep the Saturday/Friday streams for now, but I'll touch on that here in just a minute. So no Splatoon 3s on Thursdays for a little while. And I think you guys will like that, having some more Splatoon 3 or longer Splatoon 3 streams. Actually, off camera, I got McChicken to A rank in Anarchy, and she got her badge for that. So I'm very proud of that. I can't win a series to save my life. I can only get about 3 games. Actually, all of the series that I've done this week have ended it in 3 games. Or 3 wins and then 3 losses. I can't get 4 wins or 5 wins. I can't, but she's moving up. She's making good progress. But we'll go over more Splatoon updates on Saturday. That's what I'm working for, Daniel. That's what I'm working towards. Also, McChicken has been experimenting with a couple new weapons that you guys have not seen her use before. I tried out a couple new weapons and I really felt good with them. I actually had really good results with them too. So this Saturday, you guys are going to see McChicken with some new hardware. But speaking of Splatoon, this is my main announcement that I wanted to discuss with you guys. So recently, can we get a McChicken con? That would be so fun to work on. Like if there's like a website I can make comic books or something in, I think that'd be hilarious. A theme song? Just use the Perry the Platypus theme song. But instead of Perry the Platypus, just McChicken the Inkling Girl. Like she's McChicken, McChicken the Inkling Girl. Yeah, but I actually have something somewhat planned related to that comic book idea, DJ. I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to be a side project and I don't want to hard commit to it right now. It's just going to be a free time thing. But I do have some side McChicken content not involved with Splatoon 3 planned. I won't say what it is, but I am planning something. Yeah, doobie dooby doo ba doobie doo. I love Perry's theme, man. Anyways, the main announcement that I was wanting to get at is, so last week I said that there were 3 streams that I wanted to do before we started Splatoon 1. One was the 3 houses tier list that we just did tonight. The other 2 were a couple games that I wanted to do a one-off stream on. Those of you who were announcement gang last week will remember that. However, I'm changing that. Because recently, we got on a random Tuesday, we got Splatoon Raiders release date. It's coming in July. I think the 29th. Help me out on that, guys. The specifics. It was July 29th, right? But either way, we got the Raiders debut. Not debut. That's the wrong word. 23rd. Okay, sorry. I remember the 2, but for some reason the 9 came to mind. So I really want to have Splatoon 1 and Skylanders done by the time Raiders comes out. I think that's pretty easy to do, but I did not expect Raiders to come out this summer. I thought it might be a winter release. But point being, with Raiders announcement, I'm going to shelve the one-off playthroughs that I wanted to do for now, and I will do those at the end, closer to July, if I have downtime. But thankfully for me, both of these games are probably going to be fairly short. But what we're gonna do is next Thursday, right? You late gangers, you guys are here for to hear this. Next Thursday, we will start Splatoon 1. And we will be introducing you guys to the 3rd McSibling. And then in July, we'll be introducing you guys to the 4th McSibling. So you guys are going to have 2 McSiblings coming soon. We're going to meet the oldest McSibling, McSprite and McChicken's oldest sibling. And that will start next Thursday. So Splatoon 1 is going to take the Thursday streams for now. while I keep Splatoon 3 on Saturday, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have never been this motivated to play Splatoon 3. I have been loving it. I don't know why my passion for it is just shot through the roof, but I've never played this much Splatoon off camera in my life. Normally I always just wait and play it once a week and I'm good with that. But for some reason, my passion for it and my motivation to play it is just through the roof right now, and I am loving it. Even with all the ass whoopings I've gotten, I'm just having so much fun with it right now. I don't know why. Oh, hell yeah, Daniel. Is it a boy or a girl? You're just gonna have to wait to find out, DJ. I already know the answer to that question, and I already have the name picked out. Because I'm not going to be able to name the character in the single player. It's most likely just going to be Agent whatever, Agent 3 or whatever. Because we won't be doing multiplayer. But yeah, so I already have that picked out. And I hope you guys are looking forward to it. But yeah, so we are going to start Splatoon 1 next week. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to jump into Skylanders. We're going to get that game knocked out. And yeah. So Splatoon 1 and Skylanders are both going to be getting a Taste of Nostalgia video on them. So those of you who like my Taste of Nostalgia series, who have probably been wondering where those videos have been and why it's just been a lot of Pokemon challenges, don't worry, you guys got 2 back-to-back nostalgia videos coming. And they're gonna be on 2 iconic games. I've never played Splatoon 1, but I have played the shit out of Skylanders, and I love that game. I'm so excited to bring that to you guys. I think you guys will enjoy that too. But yeah, so that's the plan. The one-off streams are going to be shelved until I have more free time, because I was not expecting Raiders to drop this early. The other thing I'm also wanting to be cautious of is Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and Persona 4 Reload. I don't think either of those 2 games come out in 2026. I really don't. I think they're both going to be spring 27. But just in case, I want to make sure that I have the slots open for them, because those are going to be day 1 games, just like Raiders. I will be doing probably a midnight stream for Raiders, so we can play it the second it unlocks. So yeah, look forward to that, guys. We're going to have an all-nighter stream for Raiders debut. But I will talk more about that and the stream for that as that day approaches. But I just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys to kind of get hyped for it. But I hope you do amiibo levels so the oldest mixed sibling can look nice. Well, I'll have you guys talk more about that to me when it comes closer, but we'll just play it by ear. I'm really excited to debut the oldest sibling. I probably won't be there for the Raiders stream. I'll be trying to play the game for myself. Yeah, that's fine, Daniel. That's why I keep my stream VODs up. Also, speaking of stream VODs, the Expedition 33 finale is back up. I'm sorry for the issues. But yeah, I'm sorry. It just happens. A crumb? A crumb of what? I don't even know eye color yet. We're going to figure that out as we go. All right, you know what, guys? I have an idea. Just for a special treat for the 4 of you that are here. We're going to wheel it. Where's my wheel? There's my wheel. Bam. So, we have options. I can either reveal the name of the oldest mixed sibling, the gender of the oldest mixed sibling, or the name of the upcoming Raiders sibling, the youngest sibling, McChicken's little sibling. Or there's 5 or 4 reveal nothings. So if you guys want it to be a secret, there's a 50-50 shot that it will be nothing. No, more than a 50-50 shot. It's 4 and 7. Do you guys want... And you know what? Just to add a... Hold on. Hold on. There you guys go. Vote on that. Do you want me to spin this wheel? Or do you not want me to spin the wheel? And you people want me to spin the wheel. 3-1. All right. Here we go, boys. This is your treat for being here late. The stream didn't get a lot of views tonight, but I wasn't expecting it to. Turnout tonight was pretty low also, but I mean, I had fun with it. This was great. I'm glad I finally got to do this. So as a treat for you guys that were here, I'm going to give you guys a minor reveal for one of the characters. All right, here we go. And you guys are going to get nothing. You will wait a week and then you will figure out everything on the oldest mixed sibling. A bit of a tease there for you guys, but the wheel has spoken. It's all right. It's a week, guys. You'll be fine. Why is that so quiet? Yeah, some of my volume is just really inconsistent. Is there an E in the name? How about that as a consolation prize? I'll answer the question if there's an E in the name. Do not answer? Okay, I will not answer. Okay. You guys will wait till Thursday and you'll figure it out. I hope you guys are excited for it. I don't know what to expect in that playthrough, but yes, there will be a Mick in the name. All right, guys. I've taken up enough of your time. This was fun. This was fun. I had fun with this. All right, who's my late gang tonight? Who do I thank for being here late? Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, Hyper. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Creeper. Who else is here? Anybody else here? I don't think so, but yeah. And our top 5 chatters tonight. Thank you, Ireland in 5th with 75 points. Thank you, Sothis in 4th with 100 points. Thank you, Hub in 3rd with 150 points. Thank you, Creeper in 2nd with 225 points. And thank you, our winner tonight, the lovely Hyper with 225 points. No, thank you, DJ. But yeah. All right, fellas, I'm gonna get up out of here. I will see you all tomorrow for what is bound to be another ass kicking in Radiant Dawn. Thank you everybody as always for watching. Whether you watched a little bit of stream tonight or the entire stream, be it live or on demand, your support means the world to me. I will see you all tomorrow night. And until then, bye for now.